2014 Ford Fusion today needs a water pump. I'm going to show you what that is. It's right here. Obviously, we can see that there's some remnants of coolant around the area, but what was the dead giveaway? I pressure tested the system and simply just administered pressure into one of these outlet tubes here, and I could simply just see it drip, and I'll just go over that real quick of what I did. So I'm changing all the belts because of coolant contamination, and the bottom belt you have to use a special tool to get it on there. You can use flat heads, but it's a stretch belt that goes on the bottom for the AC compressor. I do have a special tool for that, but I think just because I'm pressed for time, I'll use a tool. But you can put that on without it. It's going to take a little work though. And what else are we doing? So we're doing the water pump, the stretch belt, and going to quick pressure test real quick. So let me just do that and show you where it's leaking from, and then we'll go ahead and start with the replacement. Alright, this might be a little hard to see, but I'm going to pull off one of these valves here. It's going to take two hands since I didn't design anything to plug off one of these ends here. So I simply got my air gun here, and it's a cone type grommet here on the front of it. I'm just going to simply hold this in, administer a little pressure. And down at the bottom you can see it leaking down there. I don't know if it showed up on the camera, but I can literally see it dripping. Alright, we're going to let this air pressure out here. It was dripping down at the bottom. Let's see if I can capture it. So the test was nothing special, very simple, just to administer some pressure and look for a leak. Now there's other ways you can design something, but being that there was remnants of coolant tracking around the water pump, that's obviously where I went first, and I didn't design anything that will allow consistent pressure while I observed for a coolant leak. So the next step, simply just start pulling stuff down and replacing this water pump, and nothing special. Don't look like I need to remove the tensioner or anything. What's questionable, might need to get a little clearance from jacking the engine up, just for a camera angle, but likely I think we'll be okay with the position the way it is. Seems like there's plenty of room. So I'm going to start off by taking this belt off, disposing of that. But probably before that, we might be able to just get a tool between these holes here in the pulley. And that way we can latch on to something and keep it stable while we pull those 10mm bolts off there. Some of the coolant dripping down. There you go. Getting on the pulley. There are 3 8mm bolts down here. I'm just going to use a short socket and a 1/4" drive. So we got that. Looks like this one. Top. That. And that one right there. So I'm gonna work on running these out. Great thing I can get access all on with the electrical ratchet here. Alright, I got a pail on the bottom here. I'm going to take a pry bar. If this option don't work, yeah, I'm going to take a pry bar and pull that water pump out. Probably not a good idea to pry on the plastic there. I gotta pour the housing, but I break it, I buy it. I mean, hell, it's not even a mating surface anyway, so I think we're fine. All right, let's see. Oh shit, damn. Lightning fell on me one time. Alright, so I'm gonna let it do its thing by draining slowly. I'm not gonna sit there and rush this. I don't even have the new parts yet anyway. I gotta run to the parts store. Again, I'm changing the belts because they're contaminated. Changing the stretch belt for the AC. And of course I'm cleaning everything, so I'm gonna have to get a couple cans of brake cleaner and go at it. Hopefully this wasn't in the way the whole time. I know that blue probably just stands out. So I'm gonna let it do its thing and inspect that water pump. Let's see, I know I'm impatient right now. Let's see if we can speed this process. I don't have the cap off or anything. And that's why it's not draining real fast, so. I'm getting impatient. Being impatient will make a mess. We're getting a little closer. Oh shit. I think we're fine anyway. Let's go ahead and pull that out. So some metal impeller. Seemed like what happened was the gasket, it wasn't leaking through there, it was leaking through the bearing. So it has some internal failure. If it was capable of leaking out through the outer portion of it. No big deal. Let's go get a new one. So I got a new water pump here. It's a Murray brand from O'Reilly's. I went on ahead and hit the area with some brake cleaner. Came with a new gasket. Simply just install gasket here. And I'm going to put some dielectric grease on the outer edges, well, on the seal here, since it's safe for the O-ring, so it'll help slide on there a little better. So it shouldn't expand the seal or compromise the seal once it's installed. So just simply just add a little bit around the edges, the outer ring. Carry on with the installation procedure. We're in the wheel well now. I did take the wheel well cover off, and right now what we're looking at is the crank pulley and the AC compressor. So I'm gonna go ahead and install the stretch belt that goes on the crank pulley here. Now here's the other belt. This is coming off and getting replaced also, so I need to be sure I put that belt on first before I do anything else. I'm going to go ahead and give this a brake cleaner bath also to get all the oil and contaminants off, so I would not contaminate a new belt. So just got something to be mindful of when replacing the water pump. And I've had it happen on customer cars, so being that I have to honor a warranty, you want to make sure everything's done right, because it's going to cost you money having to go back over it twice. And I've had that happen, but I'll save that story for another day. So let's get to it. So this belt is simply just going to get cut. And I'm going to go ahead and install the new belt. So we're going to go right back up the top and put a new water pump or alternator belt on here first, so it's not forgotten about. Not sure if I mentioned, but I did put blue Loctite on those water pump bolts. So that's the mild version of the Loctite. Gotta be careful. There's plastic lines down there, so that's that. Go back over. Now ideally, you'll want to go with a small pulley last, which I'm going to do, I'm just going to hold it in place until I get the tensioner. Get the tensioner eased off. Let's see. So I'm going to back off this water pump pulley. I screwed up again. Yeah, I think I did. Oh, shit. This hood done fell on my head like 3 times already. So we're good with that, except for the bottom. Hold it right there. Cool. Alright, so we're good on the bottom. We are all in our grooves, so alright, let's carry on with the stretch belt. Our primary focus is going to be on the crank here, only because, common sense, we're going to obviously wrap it around the groove section or the pulley section of the compressor. So this is the main busy section we're going to be working out of, so we're not going to worry about that. We're going to need to get a socket for the crank bolt, our tool, and our stretch belt. So I got a 21 socket for the crank pulley, and oh boy, let's see if I can get this belt started. Let's hold this right here, 1/2-inch drive. The tool required is going to be 67089 if you have that available. I've used this for Camaros in some of my older videos, and we're using it today. Some parts get dropped off. So one of these tools that literally say install, and this is what we're going to use. And being that it's directional, once I hook it up to the crank, it's going to start guiding the belt on there. And if you see, it's favoring the inside of the crank pulley. So I'm just going to slide this, make sure the lip comes in contact, and I'm going to go in the clockwise position or motion. Slowly turn and let the compression seep down. There we go. Just that simple. So this is done. I'm not going to go through the whole process of burping the system or getting the coolant to circulate, because obviously we'll just fill it up in the reservoir. And in my case, being that this was obviously a coolant leak, just allow everything to operate normal. Just monitor the temperature, make sure the heat's working, which is a good indication that the coolant is circulating, and recheck after the coolant fans come on. Other than that, this car, it was pretty simplistic. Labor time was allegedly 2 hours. Dealer time was 1.6 hours from what the sources I get stated. It didn't take that long. It took like an hour. So I'm going to fill it up first before I start the car up. So, golly, excuse me. So the coolant or the water pump wouldn't be operating under dry conditions. So, let's see here. Like I said, I did use mild Loctite for those bolts. Not a big deal. It's simple tools. 14 millimeter for a tensioner. Didn't have to remove the tensioner or anything. 8 millimeter, 10 millimeter, and I used a small 6-inch extension between the holes of the pulley to latch on to a fixed source so I can loosen those bolts up. Stretch belt. Sorry. We used a special tool. Showed you the part number, and it was very simple to install. Took 90 seconds, if that. So I'm pretty sure everybody else's situation may be unique, but as far as this one go, it was pretty much cut and dry. Diagnosed it really quick with a coolant leak, and hopefully it showed up on the camera with it dripping, so it's not a big deal. The fender or the wheel well cover was 10 millimeter and what was the other one? 7 millimeter in my case, and I had some fender body panels I had to remove, so it may be unique in your case. But as far as these engines, these 2.5s, like one I had to do a cylinder head on a while ago, it can vary as far as the condition of the car and a lot of situations, so I'm pretty sure the body panels are relative. Other than that, this car's fixed. Just a real simplistic replacement, nothing special. Any do-it-yourselfer can do it. Nothing special. So hey, if we'll see if this water pump will stand up test of time. It's a brand new part by Murray from my part store O'Reilly's, and we'll see if it holds up. Hopefully I shouldn't have to honor any of my warranties within a year and go back over this, and hopefully this car doesn't have any other issues regarding overheating problems. But I will take this car on test drive as I do all the other vehicles, and we'll see if it stands to the test of time. But hey, if something happened, you're not going to know. So be sure to subscribe to the channel, stay informed, and have that reassurance in my work. See you on the next one.